In this video, I'll be talking about kind of the process I've been going to improve my art. It might be a little bit hard to see, so I'll zoom in later on. And I'm not that good. I've only been doing it for like a couple months. So there's people way, 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 way better than me. This is just like, beginning of the beginning. Um, but I kind of wanted to go through a process of how I gradually improved my art, and hopefully this process, I kind of like the way that I think about how to improve art. Hopefully this will help someone out. So I guess to start off, what I wanted to do was, oh, there we go. What I wanted to do was kind of make like this image. So this image in the center was like the main image that I wanted to draw, and this has been on my mind for probably a couple of months, maybe a year now. I wanted to draw a scene where there was like girl with the big straw hat, right? Big straw hat, sitting on a hill, a grassy hill, overlooking like a huge grassy field. Um, you know, lots of there's gonna be a lot to learn if I wanted to draw a scene like that, and I'm still not done yet. But I kind of wanted to go through like how I went about learning how to draw the scene like in my head, because I wasn't able to make it at first. So this is just like this drawing in the middle is like the very first rough sketch that I drew, just to get like the vibe that I was going for. And so right, the person in the middle, she has a straw hat, or like the summer hat, a summer dress, kind of legs standing uh, out, parting her hair to the side, kind of like that sidewards view, and it doesn't look anything good like at all. Um, but that was kind of like my very, very first initial rough draft. And so I guess first off, what I wanted to focus on was the face, because I had a lot of trouble drawing the face. The hat, it's not perfect, but it looked good enough for me, with more improvements, of course. And the summer dress too didn't look that bad. Definitely could be a lot better. Right? Drawing the wrinkle lines and stuff like that, so there'd be, let me draw that out. But something like, I'm not that good at drawing clothes, but something like this, and something like that, and something like this. Of course, it'd be a lot more, it'd look a lot better. But the general shape of it, I liked. So the very first thing I wanted to focus on was what I was weakest at the most, which is drawing faces. Um, I never really practiced drawing faces, so it was really, really rough at first. Let me circle it in red. But this face was like the first kind of like initial prototype that I wanted to go for, like the actual face shape. And as you can see, it looks nothing like like an actual human face. Um, the proportions are off, the details are off, and I soon realized this was like the second face that I drew. So after drawing the first face, this was like the second face, and they didn't look that good. So I realized I kind of had to change I had to change the process, or I had to change what I was doing. So I looked up a video on learning how to draw quickly, or learning how to draw as fast as possible, well, quickly. And I saw a video by Sycra. I think I'm pronouncing the channel's name right. Um, but the person mentioned iterative practice, right? To draw iteratively. And so that's kind of what I started incorporating into my practice. So, first off, I actually, since I didn't really know how to draw a face, I kind of looked up the face online. This was the face that I drew. It's not bad. It's got the proportions sort of correct, but the hair is still pretty wonky. There's not that much detail, and more so, the face shape could be a lot better since it looks like she's kind of her neck is pointed upwards, like or her face is pointed upwards like this. So it's not bad. It's much better than the previous two. Um, but it still looks off, right? And so that's what I wrote down to lower the eyes and tilt down and other details too. And then when I just started, I think this is where I kind of got lost again. So I was trying to draw the face looking downwards, but as you can see, the face shapes kind of got uh, different and more different. And so I like to say the second person almost looks kind of like a weird uh, bootleg version of Legolas. And the second person, I'm not even sure what she he looks like. So yeah, I had a lot of trouble um, drawing a face or learning how to draw a face. And I think what I realized that I was actually just copying. I was pretty much just copying like this face without actually understanding like, how the anatomy of the face worked. And so that's my this was my third attempt, right? And then at the third attempt, I was like pretty much realized that I kind of had to start back from scratch. So what I started doing, these are just sample sketches. This eye, these are just sample sketches. But what I realized was actually I was focusing too much on like the details, so like the eye shape and the eyebrow shape and the nose and stuff like that. But I should have been more focused on making the right, basically getting the big picture first. So for me, what that meant was just getting the shape right, the overall shape of the face first. So what that meant was for me, since I tend to be detail oriented when it comes to art. For me, I had to learn how to just make the general face shape. So at first I tried making shape of a face. You can see the outline kind of like this. It's a bit off, but I tried to make the shape of the face kind of pointed in a different direction just to see what the face would look like. And it was it wasn't a bad first attempt, but it could have been a lot better. Um, but then, pretty much I stuck with just making like a side view, just so I wouldn't have to mess with like different angles, and if they're looking a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right, that would make it a lot more complicated. So I just wanted, I recognized that I needed to start with the basics, right? Just the very basics, a basic side view, and just get the general shape of the head. And so after kind of finagling for a while, finally came up with this shape, right? And that looks a lot better, right? The shape of the face looks a lot better. It's more anime-esque. It's not as realistic. But I realized when I drew this person, right, this character, I finally started understanding kind of like just the basic anatomy, right? The general shape of the face. Where there's like a ear here, and there's the ear here, and there's the eye here, and there's the mouth here. So rather than kind of like, for me, rather than focusing on the details, right, just drawing like the very small, maybe like eyelashes or something like that, instead of focusing on details, I had to first unlearn like all those details and just focus on the basics, right? Just these basic lines and basic shapes, and that made the like the picture a lot better like already. It's not good, but it's a lot better than the previous one. And then so through that, I kind of changed the angle a little bit more, and I was having trouble with drawing the hair now. But now that I had the basic uh, shape of the head kind of down, after more practice as well, that's where all this kind of came in. So I really wasn't sure how to draw hair, whether to draw like all these strands or whether to draw just like a single, almost this hair almost looks like a curtain instead of hair. But I just wasn't sure how to draw hair, so when I saw, I had to kind of simplify, almost make the hair very simple as well. Right? So instead of, like I said previously, instead of drawing like all the strands of hair, I had to make sure to draw just like these general shapes, like something like this, something like that, something like that. It's not as realistic, of course, but I needed to get the basics, or just the basics down before I went into all the details. So those are pretty, pretty cute bird sounds. I don't know if you can hear them. But then, right, so this is kind of the shape I came up with. It's still not the best, but it looks a lot better. The shape is a lot better than uh, the ones I went through. And I think the same principle applied here, where I was, instead of focusing like on all this, all these strands, all these things, all the details, I wanted to get like the big picture first, so get the big general shape like this, like get the general shape, and then like focus on details, so like this, like this, like this, and then at the end, then I started. Once I got the basic head, just the basic head, basic hair. Now I wanted to get the basic eye shape, like basic nose shape, basic mouth, right? So I'm kind of working from biggest to smallest. Right? The biggest shape, the general shape is like the head. Right? So the biggest general shape I was focusing on was the head, because I didn't have a lot of practice drawing faces, and faces were very difficult for me. So I started with the head, then I went to smaller details, right? So like the hair, eyebrows, eye, nose, lips, and then afterwards I'll be focusing on even smaller details, right? Like eyelashes, and maybe if I get super detailed, like I haven't done it yet, but like the pores, right? The pores on your skin, and so that's all I was working on with these. I was just working on the eye shape, just the general eye shape, and the nose and the lips. And that was just to practice drawing bigger details. And so pretty much right now all I have is this character right here, which I drew kind of relatively fast. Here we go. And while there's still a lot of work to be done, a lot of work to be done, it looks a lot better already, right? The general shape looks a lot better already. I pretty much practiced drawing more confident lines. So these lines, they're pretty much one stroke, right? One stroke, one stroke, one stroke. After, of course, um, drawing like a sketch of it, right? A general sketch of it. And now, I need to add in a lot more details, right? But the general shape, right? The general outline looks a lot better. So we started with something like this, and I still haven't added right, everything down. Right? So I haven't added the body, the dress, the posture. I haven't added it, and I haven't added the grass field, grass. So there's still a lot of work for me to do. But just this picture alone, just the outline alone, that looks a lot better. Yeah, so pretty much what I learned in like a couple of weeks and a couple of months of learning how to draw is, for me, I had to start big, start big. Um, I had to focus on like just basic shapes, basic forms. And this might have been something most people learned in art school, but I had to unlearn. I had to learn. I had to unlearn drawing details first. I had to start big. And then second, right from there, um, I had to start adding like medium. I'll call it like medium details. So those are like the body parts, so eyes, ears, hair, and stuff like that. Uh, it's a bit hard to see. Let me make it bold. Yeah, that should be better. Okay. So, yeah, I had to start big, basic shapes, right? And then I had to go with medium details. And then third, from there, the tricky part is getting all the details, right? And that's what takes like a long, long time, getting all the details. Long, long, and the videos that really helped me a lot were the iterative practice, right?